Today I want to answer the question once and for all, what to do with your tongue when you're singing. So stay tuned. Hi, if we haven't met yet, my name is Freya. I'm a professional singer and vocal coach from Germany, and I've performed in opera, musical theater, jazz, pop, rock, with bands and orchestras all over the world. I want to share my knowledge with you. So tongue position is something that is really complex, but actually it can be very simple. A lot of times that's what I found when I talk about tongue position to my students, it really creates more problems than it helps solve them. So thinking of the tongue is maybe not so advantageous as it is to think of that entire part that moves, that is in your mouth and throat. You have to understand, it's all connected. We know this. There's the tip of your tongue. There is that large area of your tongue that you see, like when you stick it out, like right? And then there's the back of your tongue, and that back of your tongue continues on into your throat. So when you're right around the area where your uvula is, on the top, that's called your soft palate, and on the bottom, there's the back of your tongue. When you raise your soft palate, essentially at the same time, you lower the back of your tongue, which then creates an open throat. Let's continue on. The throat area, throat is not an appropriate term because it doesn't really describe exactly what you mean. It could be the larynx, it could be the pharynx. We are talking about that large pharyngeal space that is really the entire area, anything that is like above your larynx, that space that begins like right where your uvula is. And that space can be moved in many different ways. It's not just open or close. It's really shaping it in very different ways. Opening more in the front or opening more in the back. All these different sounds can be created by shaping that roof, if you want, or that space in different ways, and that's how you can create all the different sound qualities in your voice. The tongue, of course, that is the space inside of your mouth, is also a very important space because it is potentially a big space. So changes in tongue position, whether it's the tip of your tongue, the middle of your tongue, the back of your tongue, or further back when we're talking about your tongue continuing on into the pharyngeal space, it's all connected, remember, it does have a large influence. Here is what I always teach my students. It can be helpful to think of the sound that you want to make rather than try to push the tongue down. For example, a lot of times singers are told by their teachers, the tongue has to be lower, or you have to like raise your soft palate. What can help you to feel what it feels like to raise your soft palate or lower your tongue is the sound of a vowel. For example, ah, ah. You can hear there's a difference in sound. The ah, when I have a more open space, it also sounds different. So training yourself to actually listen for the openness when you sing vowels, or even for the matter of fact, when you speak vowels, to actually notice the differences, the subtle nuances in vowels, especially the open vowels like ah, 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 ah. It all doesn't sound like ah unless I'm opening up that space, meaning I'm automatically lowering the tongue and raising the soft palate and continuing on further back into the throat, opening that entire pharyngeal space. So in order to practice, like, how do I feel this? You can actually train the different parts of your tongue. For example, when you're singing la 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 la, let's just do this, la 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 la. You should train singing this by not moving your jaw, because it's not your jaw that shapes an and an ah, but it's the tongue and its shape and the shape of that entire space in your mouth and pharyngeal area that actually shapes those sounds. Okay, so instead of moving jaw, get used to thinking I'm moving the soft parts, meaning the tongue. La 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 la. La 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 la. I could do the same in head voice. La 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 la. I can move the tongue and become more aware of what is the tongue doing. Let's move on to the back of your tongue. Or actually, let's move on to a S. So the L, it kind of curls, right? You want to think of your speaking voice first in order to not do weird stuff. Assuming you don't have any problems with your speaking patterns and you're appropriately shaping all the sounds that are in the language. Assuming that, you should always start with hello, hello. You can feel that your tongue naturally curls just a little bit and then presses against the back of your top front teeth just a little bit. So let's move on to S. It's the same. It's like sa 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 sa, or za 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 za. Need a little bit of jaw here just because the S is a little bit more narrow and the tongue does come up just a bit more than on the T. You see that pattern of really examining where is the sound in my speaking voice, and when you translate it into your singing voice, you always need to make sure that the space further back where your tongue connects into your throat in that pharyngeal space, that it does stay open there. So instead of za 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 za, which na, see, my is very closed. And then my z becomes also nasal, which it's a half nasal sound anyway, but the doesn't open. Training those transitions between a sound where the tongue is in a higher position and then lowering the tongue again in order to achieve the open vowel. Those transitions help you feel the motion and therefore help you feel what it feels like to open or where the tongue actually rests. Right? So let's move on to, for example, an NG sound, which that is not shaped by the tip of your tongue. Now the tip of the tongue does lower again, and the back of your tongue, right where your soft palate is, meaning where your uvula is, it meets like the soft palate and the bottom of your tongue in the back of your throat. They come together. So nga, nga, nga. Nga, 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 nga. When you do it slower, it's a little bit easier to feel. Do it slow and really register that movement and the motion that is happening. And this time, it's not the middle of your tongue so much or the tip of your tongue. It is more the back of your tongue that is actually moving. Anything else, you shouldn't pull it back or do anything strange with it. So again, think of the sound and not of tongue. What am I doing with my tongue? But at the same time, while thinking of the sound and trying to create the specific sound of openness whenever you're opening back up to the vowel, register the motion. The same happens with a G, like a G sound. Ga, 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 ga. See, I'm not ga, 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 ga. When I lift the middle of my tongue, the sound isn't right anymore because that's not how this specific sound is created. Notice how your tongue moves when you do the natural sound. Ga, 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 ga. Ga, 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 ga. Let's talk about one more thing. The R. The R in the English language is a very difficult sound because basically you curl the tongue, you're closing up, and you're actually lowering the larynx just a bit. That's the tendency. So what you want to try to keep is that open throat while registering that the tip of your tongue comes up just a bit. And you see, it's not just the tongue. It has to be in combination with the lips. Right. I don't go right. If I forget to use the lips, which I normally do when I speak, right. Oh yeah, all right. My lips actually go along with moving along with the tongue. And if I don't do this, the sound isn't right. So always register what is the sound of that natural sound. How do I actually do it when I speak? Translate it into your singing. Do it the same way, except keep the pharynx wide and open. And of course, here's the rule. The higher you sing, the more difficult, of course, it becomes to sing certain sounds. You adjust in order to accommodate better resonance. So, I can't stay that narrow. I have to open. This really goes especially for head voice, and then also some nasal sounds, you know. No. When I'm down low, no. It is not as crucial to stay open in your pharyngeal space as it is when you're singing high. You're doing an N nasal sound followed by an open ah, or even not followed by an open ah, but even singing that nasal sound, press that tongue against your back teeth on the top, but at the same time further back in your throat, you want to stay open. You don't want to close there. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to have that transition between a nasal sound and a non-open sound, which it never opens then, even while you're holding the N. Further back, it's open. It's not, but it's more like, no. It's not, no. So I hope this really helps you understand what you're supposed to do with your tongue and how to freaking place it when you're singing and not doing weird stuff in your throat and choking on your own tongue. I have a live training come up. Check out the link below. It's how to 10x your progress. You're gonna love it. You have to sign up in order to be part of it. It is gonna be live and I'm gonna have a Q&A. It's not gonna be on YouTube officially. It's just gonna be for those who sign up. I hope to see you there. Have a wonderful day and I'll see you soon.
Makes me feel sad for